I'm Dr. Dave Janda. Welcome back to our ongoing Operation Freedom Health and Wellness series. The goal of this series that Peter and I have been doing, Dr. Peter Glidden and I have been doing for the past, 4.5 years, our goal is to empower you, to put you ahead of the curve that ends in the shattering of your health and wellness, which is being done purposefully, by the way, and not conspiracy theory, might be conspiracy, but conspiracy reality. And what we focus on is what you can do to empowering yourself as it relates to your health and wellness. Now, this is a message big pharma, big medicine, big insurance, the AMA, big government, they don't want you to know about. Why? Because they make money off of all the entities I just spoke about. That's where their power comes from. That's where their financial resources come from. And what we're doing is blowing the lid off of that. That's what we've been doing for 4.5 years and putting you ahead of the curve. One of the huge issues when it comes to your intake, food, supplements, is absorption. See, we're under the misconception that everything we take in gets absorbed. And that's a huge misconception. And it's leading to a huge problem as it relates to health and wellness. So today's topic is going to be how to maximize your nutritional absorption from what you intake in food and or supplements. My guest host on these presentations is Dr. Peter Glidden, one of the top naturopathic physicians in our country, if not the world. He is an outstanding researcher as well and outstanding author. His 2 books, Everybody is Sick and I Know Why, An Attempt to Cure with Holistic Medicine, are must-get and must-have books for your medical library, for not just to sit on the shelf, but for you to read them and implement them, and it'll put you, again, far ahead of the curve. All the topics that we talk about today and all of the substances and nutritional support items we speak about are available on OperationFreedomHealth.com. Now, full disclosure, purchase of the products does support this platform. And the reason why we have the products on the platform is because there's no sense talking about what you need to do and then not have a resource for you to go to purchase them. It is my honor. Oh, by the way, Dr. Glidden's website, Dr. Glidden, Glidden.com, along with OperationFreedomHealth.com. It is my honor to welcome back Dr. Peter Glidden. Peter, welcome back.
Always a pleasure, Dave. It's good to be here in the middle of summer 2023. How time flies.
It does fly.
Well, you don't remember what Groucho Marx said, Dave?
Oh, what?
Time flies like an arrow and fruit flies like a banana.
Take that. So let's talk about bananas and other foodstuffs and nutritional supplements. Pete, am I wrong in saying that we have a huge misconception that everything we intake is absorbed, or a big percentage of it? In fact, we have a huge malabsorption problem, don't we?
It's a gigantic malabsorption problem. It was done on purpose, and there are 2 perpetrators to greatly decreasing the body's physiological ability to digest the food and absorb nutrients from it. Mm-hmm. 2 major players which interrupt that process. Number 1, a salt-free diet. Medical doctors have been telling everybody for 40 years, no more salt, restrict salt, stop using salt. Salt causes high blood pressure. Salt will kill you. Salt is the Antichrist. Don't use salt. And they're dead wrong. This is a tragic, because it was in the 1950s that Harvard University published a study that said, hey, wait a minute. There's no relationship between normal salt intake and high blood pressure, and that research was redone just 2 years ago. Mm-hmm. So salt is extremely important for the health of the stomach acid. Your stomach acid needs the chloride from sodium chloride. Salt is sodium chloride. Your stomach needs the chloride to make hydrochloric acid, which is the main mover and shaker, the main major component of stomach acid is hydrochloric acid. Body can't make chloride. So if it's not in the food that you're eating, your stomach acid is going to be weak.
Mm-hmm.
If your stomach acid is weak, well, it doesn't take a rocket scientist to figure out that your body's not going to be able to digest its food appropriately.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's a really big stumbling block, because being on a salt restricted or salt-free diet. Number two, here's a little education in anatomy and physiology that should be taught to people in high school but is not. So the digestive tract of the human being is like a series of dominoes.
Mm-hmm.
Starts in the mouth, right, with saliva and the teeth. The saliva starts to dissolve the food. The teeth chew it up and make it smaller and smaller, get more surface area so it's easier to digest, easier for the digestive chemicals to get in there. Then it drops down into the stomach, which is basically a great big bag of acid. And when you're healthy and your stomach acid is adequate to the cause, the stuff that you have just swallowed is dissolved into a liquid slurry. Mm-hmm. It's called chyme. And there's a bunch of digestive enzymes that are at play there. Hydrochloric acid is one of the most important. So everything gets dissolved in the stomach if you're healthy, and then moves from the stomach into the small intestine.
Mm-hmm.
And the small intestine has the greatest surface area, the longest length of any part of your digestive tract. Mm-hmm. The small intestine is from 9 to 12 feet long, depending on how big you are. And the small intestine, if you cut it in half, it looks like a plush carpet mm-hmm. inside, because mm-hmm. it's lined with these little finger-like projections called villi, and millions of them. And on top of the villi are microscopic villi. So there's literally billions, with a B, of tissues along the length of the small intestine, mm-hmm. the sole purpose of which is to absorb nutrients into your bloodstream, mm-hmm. which leads to a really curious anatomical fact. This is a fun fact, know and tell. When food is inside your small intestine, mm-hmm. it's outside the body. Because your digestive tract is like one big tube, mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. from your mouth to the rear end. And when stuff is inside the tube, it's actually outside the body. Mm-hmm. It doesn't get inside the body until it absorbs through the villi into the bloodstream. And the villi, and this is another fun fact to know and tell, the small intestine, the area of the blood vessels which surround the small intestine and which absorb all this stuff, mm-hmm. it's like the border guard of the country. And that's where the headquarters of the immune system is. Our immune system has a central headquarters. It's the network of blood vessels surrounding the small intestine. Because, and this makes sense, right? Because stuff that was coming from the outside of the body gets to the inside of the body through the villi, through the blood, mm-hmm. and so that's where it meets the immune system, which is like the border guard, which gives the stuff a pass or a fail. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Now, the problem is that there's a certain food group, mm-hmm. certain protein, mm-hmm. which when consumed, yep. physically damages the villi. It physically damages them. And that protein is gluten, mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. which is everywhere all the time, and which has been, whole wheat bread, rolls, wheat flour, the whole thing about grains, ever since I was a kid, and then moving forward, has been trumpeted by medical professionals as the staff of life, right?
Right.
Got to have your bread. Man can't live by bread alone. Well, let's have some more bread. So grains that contain gluten, which are wheat, barley, rye, and oats, when consumed, damage the tissue in the small intestine that absorb nutrients. Mm-hmm. Is that a good idea or a bad idea? It's a bad idea. Mm-hmm. So it's a double whammy. Not enough salt, not enough digestive juice. Food doesn't get digested properly, and then you can't absorb it efficiently because your entire life you've been having pancakes for breakfast and sandwiches for lunch and cookies for snacks and donuts and pizza and pasta, lions and tigers and bears. Oh my, right? I mean, it's a grain fest here. And these two reasons are the impelling reasons which make absorption of nutrients that are in the food difficult. And remember, the food doesn't have everything that we need.
No.
So here's how many nutrients we need. Here's how many's in the food. Here's how many we absorb. And then we get sick and we wonder why. All chronic disease is directly related to nutrient deficiencies. You have to plug these leaks in the digestive tract. You have to strengthen the stomach acid. And then you have to add the nutrients that are not present in the food in order to make this whole puppy work. In order to make this plane fly, this is what you have to do. And sadly, and you know, this from the conspiracy department, this was all done on purpose. Because when you look at it, I mean, we've been told we need to eat grains our entire life. We've been told to be salt-free our entire life. There are 11 other foods which I don't think people should even look at, let alone eat. And we've been told to eat them our entire life as well. So this was done on purpose, and it was the intention here is to drive your nutrient status so down that you basically become a walking physiological pathology maker.
Right. And that's just where they want you. That's right where they want you. Because then you consume their big pharma products, their big medicine products, their big insurance products, right?
And none of which are intended to cure the condition.
No.
Just manage it.
Now, you mentioned the 12 bad foods. You did a video. It's free. It's on OperationFreedomHealth.com toward the upper right-hand corner. It's free. The 12 bad foods. If you haven't watched it, you need to. If you've watched it and you haven't shared it with others, you need to. Because the more people that are empowered with that information, the more people that are going to become healthier, that are going to avoid or minimize sickness and illness. So, Pete, one of the other fallacies is, well, all nutritional supplements are the same when it comes to absorption, bioavailability. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to the health food store and I'm going to pick out like 6 of the cheapest things I can find, and I'm going to consume those, and well, that will balance any deficiencies I have in my nutritional intake. So, Pete, address this issue about supplements and them all being the same or very similar.
Well, they're not. And, I mean, it doesn't take, again, this is just common sense. It's street smarts, right? I mean, nutritional supplements are like chicken soup. Every recipe is different. Every bowl is different, depending on the freshness of the ingredients, the nature of the ingredients, and the additives put into it, and how long it was cooked. And all wine is made from grapes. Pretty big difference from bottle to bottle. So it's the same in the nutritional supplement industry. It's the same, by the way, in the pharmaceutical industry, which is why, you know, you'll have patent drugs for 25, 30 years. And then when the patent expires, then you can have every company in the world can make a generic form of the drug, right? But people have different reactions to the generic than they do to the original drug, but it's the same biochemical formula. How can they have different reactions? Well, it's because of the raw materials that are used. It's because of the manufacturing process. It's a really big deal. And because none of this is subsidized, and thank God, by the government, there's a lot of wiggle room in the manufacturing process to, you know, decrease your bottom line. Because nutritional supplement company is not in the business of being humanitarian. They're in the business of making a profit. There's nothing wrong with making a profit, but if you can, most companies are going to cut corners where they can. You know, I originally, when I first graduated naturopathic medical school, I went to work for a nutraceutical company, brand new startup nutraceutical company. This was 34 years ago. But their intention was to completely, they were a disruptor in the nutritional supplement quality control industry. Their goal was to have the best, by a long shot, quality control in the entire industry. They would regularly return at least 17% of the raw material that they got because it was inferior. There was something that was off about it. Wasn't the right stuff. Or, you know, it was grade D instead of grade A, right? Or it had mold in it, or it was old, whatever. They'd return it. Now, do you think the manufacturing company threw that stuff out?
No.
No. They turned around and sold it to another nutritional supplement company who didn't do the testing that these guys did. So there's a lot of funny business that goes on in the manufacture of a nutritional supplement, which is why you need to be careful what you get and how you take it, because insurance doesn't pay for it and it's hard-earned money out of your pocket. There's not a lot of wiggle room here for people to be experimenting with different nutritional supplements. I mean, who can afford that? Not very many people.
Right.
So that's where we come in, because the supplements that I recommend, and remember, my profession wrote the book on medical nutrition, literally. The supplements that I recommend because they produce the most consistent clinical results. That's why I recommend them. I could recommend whatever I want. And companies have approached me to do that.
Which are prescription grade, or which cost a lot more than what you recommend, which we have present on OperationFreedomHealth.com.
100%. And I didn't do it because quality is a big deal. And so the stuff that is offered through Operation Freedom Health, in my estimation, based on 35 years of clinical work, is the most effective stuff you can get. And if it wasn't, I would recommend the most effective stuff you can get. Why? Because I can. So this is really where the rubber hits the road. I was just on my website, drglidden.com. I have a subscription service that gives people access to hundreds of hours of educational information. Part of the subscription service is 2 hours of live Q&A every week with me. We just had a live Q&A last night, and there was a 70-year-old guy. I forget where he was from. New Brunswick, maybe. I can't remember. But anyway, he was 70 years old. And he'd been on the program for 6 weeks. And he just showed up in the chat room to give an unsolicited testimonial about how great he felt, how much his pain had reduced, how much his sleep had improved, simply from following these generic recommendations. Look, don't eat these foods, and supplement with this stuff on a regular basis. Just do those two things initially. See how you feel.
And the supplements he used, was it the Foundation Pack?
Yeah, the Healthy Foundation Pack. I think he did 1 extra bottle of plant-derived minerals and 1 extra bottle of the white liquid calcium because he was over 200 pounds. And he had a remarkable turnaround. I mean, I haven't felt this great since I was 30 years old. My blood pressure is normal. I'm sleeping through the night. Oh, my God, I wish I knew about this 40 years ago. And this is what happens, man. And, you know, people think we're geniuses. And it's like, well, look, not really. I mean, if you have 2 flowers and you give one of them fertilizer and the other one you don't, which one's going to be bigger? Well, the one with the fertilizer, knucklehead. It's the same with the human body. But this is the problem, David, because of the medical monopoly and because all of this nutritional misdirection and misinformation, everybody in the freaking country has gotten used to being sick. Everybody has gotten used to walking through planet Earth with an undernutrified, feeble body.
Because they think, oh, I'm getting older. I'm supposed to feel lousier as I get older, right?
Because look around, all my friends feel lousy as they get older.
Or, well, the genetics in my family say that, well, so Uncle so-and-so, Uncle Festus, well, Uncle Festus had high blood pressure and had arthritis and had heart problems and had... So, well, because Uncle Festus did, because of the genetics, I should too. Pete, that's all garbage.
It's all garbage. It's 100,000% garbage. And by the way, every time a medical professional or a researcher or a PhD comes along in the public forum and counters this whole genetic nonsense, they're blackballed.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
They're deplatformed, and that guy's a quack. He doesn't know what he's talking about. He was 16 years old. He was caught shoplifting, whatever. It's nonsense. So much misinformation, so much misdirection. And this is why my mantra, it always has been and always will be, slam the doors and kick the tires and see for yourself. Because the proof of the pudding is in the eating here, pun intended. So most people have no idea what they're missing.
The components of the foundation pack, what are they?
4 components: multivitamin, multimineral, antioxidant, prebiotic, probiotic, plus some other things. Powder. It's called Beyond Tangy Tangerine. Number 2, liquid plant-derived minerals. Gives 66% of your body's mineral needs, or body's nutrient needs, 100% of your body's mineral needs, in 1 ounce, for goodness sakes. A liquid calcium and a liquid magnesium, that's over 90% absorbable. The most absorbable calcium supplement I've ever seen. And omega-3 and omega-6 essential fats from fish oil. And these 4 things, when cobbled together, taken on a regular basis, fill the tank right up. And arguably, when you do the foundation pack, it's the first time in your entire life that your body has been nutrified. And that's a game changer. I mean,
the common input I get...
happened to you.
It did. And the common input I get from people who say, well, I was a little skeptical about this because I eat organic, I eat healthy things, I eat blah, 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 right? But I did this anyway, and, Dave, I never realized how bad I felt until I started taking this, because I felt so much better, and I didn't think I'd feel maybe just a tiny bit better. It's a recurrent theme I get, and as you mentioned, Pete, my medical training, we got maybe, I don't know, 2 minutes of nutritional training. No, seriously, maybe that's an overstatement. Maybe it was a minute and a half. I don't know. But
don't
it was
polar bear liver, Dave.
Well, that's right.
Eat polar bear liver
and the unripe fruit of the ackee plant, because that could give you hypervitaminosis A, or eating a polar bear liver. No, that's it. I still Northwestern University Medical School. John Garvin was the professor speaking about that, and that was the only nutritional information we got. So, had some high blood pressure issues, a lot of arthritis issues, right? And it was we'll try this. My buddies trying to take good care of me, saying, oh, we're going to do this anti-inflammatory. Oh, that's not. Oh, we'll do this anti-inflammatory. Oh, we'll do. And instead, after all that wasn't working, I did what you told me to do with the foundation pack. And I was off all anti-inflammatories in a month, and over-the-counter, and Tylenol, and all that, gone. And my wife and family said, geez, Dave, you're out working like 4 or 5 hours on a Saturday in the yard, and you're not hobbling in.
Yeah.
I mean, because before you were doing that after like an hour, hobbling in. Now you're out there, and we're like, did he fall down, and what's going on? Right? Did he clunk his head and he's passed out? So what? No, he's out there. But it made an enormous difference, and still does to this day.
And this is the thing, because it's like the fella said, you don't know what you don't know. And also, it ain't what you don't know that'll hurt you. It's what you know for sure. It just ain't so. Right? I think it was Mark Twain that said that, Samuel Clemens. And it's true. And the problem that we have here is that the information that my profession brings to the table,
it's deep sixed. It's beyond oppressed.
You want to know how bad it is?
It's beyond oppressed.
Okay, so I have a colleague, the guy that founded the medical nutrition company that makes this foundation pack and all the things we advocate for at Operation Freedom Health. In the 1980s, he was working for the Yerkes Primate Research Center at Emory University, where he discovered and published the cause and the cure for cystic fibrosis. He figured it out. They used rhesus monkeys and figured out that if you withheld the mineral selenium from the diet of a pregnant rhesus monkey mother, the baby monkeys were born with cystic fibrosis. If you gave the mother monkey selenium,
not a problem.
No cystic fibrosis. And when that research was brought to light, this was in the 80s, Yerkes fired him. They fired him. Because we can't be having a cure for cystic fibrosis. Where's all the research money going to go? Right? They brought that information to Danny Thomas. And Danny Thomas quit the what was it? No, Jerry Lewis. It was Jerry Lewis. It wasn't not Danny Thomas. It was Jerry Lewis. Right? The Jerry Lewis
telethon. Right, every Labor Day. Yeah.
But he stopped doing it because he brought the information to his uppity ups, and they said, well, look, we're not going to go public with this because it doesn't fit the narrative, and we need research money.
And they also tried. They also did slime him. Remember, when he did that, all of a sudden there were these plethora of stories that came out about him that made him look to be in a bad light on personal issues, on a number of other things. And next thing you know, good old Jerry, I appreciate all his help over the last 30 years, but we're not going to be doing this.
And this is bad, man. And, I think most people with a brain, especially now, post 2019, are starting to see through the chinks in the armor of, the upright medical doctor and the upright, pharmaceutical rep, the upright pharmaceutical company. They know that there's lies and misdirections that are going on. But I'm telling you, man.
And I also, wasn't Jerry Lewis also involved in muscular dystrophy, not just cystic fibrosis? I think he was in cystic fibrosis.
Jerry Lewis was muscular dystrophy, and there was a relationship. It was the same mechanism between muscular dystrophy and cystic fibrosis.
Right.
And the guy that discovered cystic fibrosis in the monkeys at Yerkes, discovered the connection between cystic fibrosis and muscular dystrophy when he was doing research in China.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, there was an illness called Caishan's disease in a province of China where all these kids were getting sick of muscular dystrophy, which was a selenium deficiency because of no selenium in the soil there, and he figured it out. So another nutrient deficiency illness, and when they brought that to Jerry Lewis, the whole thing went south.
And that's the thing, right? Scurvy, vitamin C, right?
Yeah.
So in medical schools around the country, they say, well, that's just kind of a one-off thing.
No,
I know, but that's
what they say.
That's what they say. And the guy telling you this are the people who are chairs of pharmacology that are holding the Pfizer chair in pharmacology. Oh, that vitamin C thing leading to deficiency, leading to scurvy. That's true, but that's a one-off thing. We're not going to talk about. There's not any other instances of that. I mean, that's
you, man, as bad as people think it is.
Yeah, it's worse.
It's 1,000 times worse.
Yeah, I agree.
So, which is why, the good news here in all of this is that two things can happen. You can wait for the government to all of a sudden get a soul and start actually working on behalf of you.
No, not going to happen.
Or you can take your power back and take responsibility for your own health. And the first steps to doing that, eliminate the 12 bad foods, get the foundation pack into your body on a regular basis, and look to see what it does to your body mass. Honest to God, if you haven't, we've been doing this for years now. And yeah, I don't know what you're waiting for if you haven't pulled the trigger, but you need to pull the trigger here because we're not lying. This is clinically relevant truth, which is easily proven by your own in-house experimentation. So take your power back, take the first steps towards leaving Big Pharma behind, get the foundation pack, and let us know what happens.
As we've mentioned before, the products and other information, including the 12 Bad Foods videos, is available at OperationFreedomHealth.com 24/7. Pete, you mentioned your website, your subscription service, drglidden.com, and your books, Everybody is Sick and I Know Why, An Attempt to Cure with Holistic Medicine, are available on your website, correct?
Oh, yeah, 100%. And this all goes, the root of doctor in Latin is docere, which means teacher. And I was on a podcast with a guy last week, and he said he had interviewed a doctor similar to me a couple of weeks before me, and that doctor's motto, which I wish I thought up, because it's perfect, is I don't want patients, I want students.
Yeah, there you go.
Right?
Yeah, exactly.
And I'm telling you, man, if you're smart enough to pass the driver's license test, you're smart enough to learn this stuff because it's not complicated and it's not rocket science. So go to drglidden.com, become a subscriber, and let me show you how to extract yourself from the medical mousetrap, because your life does, in fact, depend upon it.
And we also want graduates for health and wellness.
100%
right?
Correct. Yeah.
And that's the goal. That's the goal of what we do with this platform. And that's why this platform is so despised by the big medicine circuit.
They still haven't let you back on Twitter, have they?
No. And they never will. They never will.
Wow.
They never will.
I rest my case.
Dr. Peter Glidden, I'd like to thank you for everything you have done, are doing, and will do. I'd like to thank you folks for joining us. Until next time, Dave Jana signing off. Dream big and dare to fail. Thanks for your time today.